All right. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, based on where you're at. And welcome to this live session where we are talking about the Devops Mastery System. And I would be also showcasing what is included in the different membership levels, including the silver and gold. That gold is what we are launching today officially for this year after a while. And then silver is something that we have ongoing as part of a membership. A lot of you here who are part of the Zoom live session, are already part of the silver membership. Some of you may already be a gold member, which whereas you're probably already benefiting out of the offerings that we have here, right? So let me explain to you what is DevOps Mastery System. So I have 5-pointer agenda here, where I would be talking about why, what, how it works, what are the different membership levels, and I would be presenting an offer towards the end of the session, which would be valid till the end of April, right? Some of you might be watching this as a recording later, or maybe a live session. So whoever is available on the Zoom session, I would be taking questions from you. If you are part of the live session, you can post the questions and I would answer them as and when I get a chance later. The offer that I would be sharing, you would still avail. It would be valid till the end of this month. And if you have further questions, you can drop me a line and I would share another email where you can reach out to me later. And you can ask questions or send in questions and I would answer those as I get a chance, right? Now, what is this DevOps Mastery System and why are we building it? Why I decided to build it is because I have been just to introduce myself for the people who may be joining through the live sessions on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, etc. I'm a corporate trainer. My name is Gaurav Shah. I run School of DevOps. I've been a corporate trainer for the last 11, 12 years. Before that, I was, I was working I started my career as a Linux admin, then became an operations engineer, then led operations team, IT operations it was called, because this is pre-DevOps era I'm talking about. And I quit my corporate job in 2012 and went on to start my own consulting firm by name Cron. Around the same time, I started, taking up the training opportunities as it started coming my way. Initially just Chef, Puppet, those were two very popular tools, which at the very beginning of the DevOps era. And then came Ansible, then came, of course, the cloud was there. The infrastructure as a code was a very core part of what we used to call as DevOps at one point of time. That changed later with containers. Of course, the CI/CD started coming in. So now we have 5 key principles of DevOps as I categorize it: cloud, infrastructure as a code, continuous integration, and delivery. You can count it as 2 as well, and then containers and the observability, as we call it, right? And that is what DevOps, revolves around. And I started taking up the trainings. I have been doing so even now. I have been doing a lot of authoring work. I started with a book in 2015. I wrote a book on Ansible. Then I started authoring courses, video courses, initially just published on Udemy. Some of those are still there on Udemy. Then I built my own platform. I did a lot of work for Linux Foundation. A lot of those courses are also available. So this is basically whatever I've done, the work, the trainings, what you see with the DevOps Mastery System is a gist of that. And I started, my dream was to create a holistic program, which would be enough for anyone to make a career in DevOps. And why we have started, and the reason why I wanted to build it is because, on one side, you see organizations which are looking for the real good DevOps talent. On the other side, we have professionals who want to make a career in DevOps, or professionals who already are working as DevOps and want to grow into that career and take it to the next level, like being, SRE maybe, or being even a trainer, being a consultant, being moving up in the DevOps career. So I wanted to build an entire roadmap and a holistic program for achieving that, so that the organizations, the gap is what we fill. On one side, people are looking for good talent. On the other side, people want to make career, and there was a gap between that, and that's what we are trying to fill in with the DevOps Mastery System. My initial take to the DevOps Mastery was just courses. Of course, I do the trainings, but those are on specific topics like Chef and Puppet and Docker and Kubernetes and CI/CD, and there's some combination of that, but it's typically for the laterals, people who are already working in organizations like corporates, and they want to be skilled up on certain topic. That's what I do the trainings on, and then I started building courses around those same topics. But I realized at some point of time that courses alone are not enough as an effective learning or a teaching methodology or a learning program. And that is where I wanted to start building a very holistic program. Initially, I did a classroom session which was not scalable, and then I kept on building courses and the categorization, different types of courses, and did a lot of authoring work for other platforms as well. But again, the self-paced courses that we see, like on Udemy, or you learn from YouTube, those are good, effective, detailed. You can actually go in very detail with the courses, and people can do it on a self-paced, which is great. But courses alone, I realized, was not enough as a DevOps mastery system. I wanted to build a system. If someone goes through that system, they should be able to basically, should be on their way to either build their DevOps career or grow into their DevOps careers, right? And that is when I started exploring different approaches, and I've been experimenting with different iterations with DevOps mini degree, this and that, and the different types of programs. And I'm also trying to build something which can scale so that we can reach out to the maximum number of people all across the globe and build a program accordingly, right? And the DevOps Mastery System, the current version of it that we have, includes 5 C's, and starts with courses, of course, the self-paced programs. And those are like really detailed courses. I'm going to take you through some of those and explain to you what is being offered as part of a gold membership. That is where we have this deep dive, real deep dive courses on DevOps topics. In addition to courses, though, we have 4 more C's. The second C being the coaching, because that's when when you start interacting with your mentor, and a lot of people want to do that. So in fact, a lot of people want to do the classroom trainings, but that is neither a scalable nor a detailed oriented program, in my opinion. But there has to be some way where people can ask questions, interact with the mentor, get their doubts solved. Just to give you an example, we are running a DevOps hackathon right now, where we do these live, weekly sessions. And I point people to some courses which are self-paced, but there were certain issues with the setup. For example, if you were doing on your own just as a self-paced program, you would get stuck and you would probably give up at some point of time. But here, we interact. People raised questions about it. They mentioned that we're struggling with this. We solved it live. Actually, I demonstrated how it works yesterday, and I give the solution as well today, right? And that is what is, if sort of, one is you get to interact, plus you get to fix issues, ask questions, and get ahead in your learning path and make progress faster, right? And that is where coaching can be effective, very effective. The third part where we are experimenting right now is the community, right? Because community is where the real power is. So today's world, if you look at the most of the learning programs, we have the membership model, we have the community where people are interacting, people are learning from each other. So there are 2 purposes of using a community model here. One is the support, second is the connect, right? So support, as in, when you have questions, you can ask in the community rather than waiting for me to answer you. It is more like an open source community or something like a smaller version of Stack Overflow, right? So instead of you waiting for me to be available to answer questions, someone else who has that knowledge, someone else who has more experience that I am in certain other aspects, can bring in their experience. And that's when we can ask questions and share also opportunities. At some point of time, we want to build a community where we are also sharing the opportunities with each other, maybe forming groups, maybe end up with partnerships or consulting firms and stuff like that as well, right? And how do we interact right now is as part of our DevOps Master System, we are using 2 channels. One is our portal, where we have a community forum section, which is not very active as of now, but we are trying to initiate that. We have formed the groups as well. And then there is a WhatsApp group where the real conversations are happening. So that is the quickest way to ask questions, get doubts solved. Also for me to communicate with people like, oh, there's a live session, please join. And a lot of you would have seen, who are part of our membership programs, would have seen my message and joined this session as well, right? So there are two purposes. One is to connect with others and learn from one another, share experiences, where we're building these masterminds where we take up topics and talk about it, and people share experiences, what they're working on, what their experience has been, what their DevOps journeys has been. And we've talked about it in our weekly calls as well. So we do have the community calls weekly, along with the learning sessions, which are the hackathons. So I'll be talking about what is offered in there. But the community is one important part of the learning process. The next part is challenges. The challenges where they come in handy is we are building these challenges like hackathon, for example, DevOps hackathon, where we've taken 10 missions over 10 weeks. We are building an end-to-end use case where we start with the design, right from the design. Let me show you that. Right from the mission one is you do the design of a microservices application stack. Mission two is where you build the foundations with Docker and Git. Mission three is where you're building a continuous integration pipeline, CI pipeline with Jenkins and so on. Mission four is where you start automating configurations with Ansible. Mission five is you build stuff on cloud. Mission six is going to be on Terraform, automation of the cloud. Then comes the advanced continuous integration. You mix in Jenkins with Docker and so on and so forth. Then you deploy stuff on Kubernetes. Then you automate that deployment with GitOps. Then you set up an observability system. And this, if you look at it, covers most of the key technologies, topics, and principles and practices of DevOps when you see this being implemented, right? And that is part of a challenge. So what do you mean by a challenge? If you ask me that question, the challenge is designed in a way that, this is basically a time-based, activity. We are taking this challenge and we are, building this use case, end-to-end DevOps use case over like 10 weeks, so approximately 90 days challenge we are building here. And, what the purpose of challenges is, ultimately I point people to the courses which have the actual tasks that they have to achieve. They can watch it in the course, and then I demonstrated during the live sessions as well. So I demonstrated yesterday how to build a continuous integration pipeline using the modern Jenkins, component like Blue Ocean and multi-branch pipeline. So I explained that. So we do that live session, followed by people do the activity, certain activity per week. And they're supposed to complete that mission by mission by mission. So it becomes more like people stay motivated. It's a time-based program, and you don't get, it's not about getting lost, or, you don't feel alone. So you're working with the, we have the WhatsApp groups to interact, ask questions and stuff like that, right? And those are the quickest way to get basically to the next level. And that is what we have designed the challenges. There are multiple challenges that we are going to bring in, starting with, we did a 50 days Kubernetes challenge a few months ago, which was very successful. It was received very well. We had live sessions plus the weekly tasks to master the Docker and Kubernetes. The 30 days system engineering challenge is still in works, but it will be self-paced, and you complete or build the foundations on system engineering in 30 days. And, and then there is a 90 days hackathon, which I just spoke about here. The fifth component of this DevOps Mastery System is the certification, where after completing, let's say, the DevOps hackathon, and so completing certain tasks, you would be given a certificate like DevOps, Certified DevOps Associate, and so on. That is to help you motivate and also demonstrate that you have completed this program successfully. And it will all be enforced via the portal and the platform that we are building here. And that would mean, I'm just giving an example of that. This is a portal which you would have access to once you become a member. And DevOps Hackathon is something that I'm building as a challenge. And you can see that there are multiple missions. So if you just take 3 missions right now, I'm building it 1 mission at a time. If you look at 1 mission, what you're supposed to do in this week, it is all being enforced. So unless you have read the topics, unless you have joined the groups, unless you have submitted the use case design proposal, unless you have completed the self-evaluation, you will not be able to progress, or you will not be able to get the certification and so on. So it is being enforced via the challenges, and that's what these challenges are for, so that you complete the task, you submit the work, you evaluate yourself through quizzes and whatnot, and at the end of it, you get certified automatically based on how much things you have completed and whether you've completed all the agenda or not. So this is basically to ensure that we are completing the program in a time-bound manner. And those are the 5 C's of our DevOps mastery system that we want to build this system with, right? So it's an entire system as you look at it, right? It's not just courses, unlike what you see with most of the platforms, and what I used to do earlier as well was just selling and offering courses, which is not enough. And that's why we're building a system with 5 C's: courses, coursing, community challenges, and certifications, right? Now, how does it work is we are also in for a longer time, right? So I always suggest that we are offering this only if you are really serious about DevOps career, because I see a lot of people want to get into DevOps just because it is the hot topic right now. But if that is the case, then you will find some other hot topic in 2 years from now and jump to it, and then jump to another topic. That doesn't take you really anywhere in long terms, really, right? And we really are not offering anything for someone who's just in for a hot trend. It is only for the people who are really serious about the DevOps as a career. And that's why we're building the community, long-term connections. Even the roadmap that you see is a 6-year roadmap that we are building with different journeys, where you start as a beginner on day one. So day one, you are a starter. And in 6 months, you become at a level of DevOps associate, or maybe someone like a cloud engineer. And then in about a year, you achieve a milestone like DevOps engineer, some career milestone. In about 2 years, site reliability engineer milestone, and that is the SRE milestone. So we're going to have these kind of milestones, and we're building a journey where you go from the starter to the cloud engineer or DevOps associate to the DevOps engineer to like a senior DevOps engineer and SRE. And then in about 5 years, you get to the level where you are part of a DevOps leadership council, which is what we are calling it as a DevOps leadership council, but it can be for anyone who wants to get into consulting, for example, or maybe a DevOps architect at that level, or maybe a leader in the field of DevOps, and maybe even a trainer. So it could be many different things, right? And we want to offer a long-term career path for you, whoever is coming into the system, right? And we are building it step by step right now. And that is the idea of DevOps Mastery System. And it is only for the people who are really serious about the DevOps career, and they're really committed to this career. And if you are, you would definitely, be able to get to the next, grow into this career. You would be able to get, of course, the salaries and the money part will always follow. And you'll succeed really financially, and you'll be be at peace when you're at work. And basically because you would have some career path which you can take from one step to another, and what the next target or next goal for you in terms of your career as well, right? And that's the kind of system that we are trying to build here. It is still in works, as most of you who are part of the membership program would have seen, that it's not perfect yet, but it is something that we are building, and one step at a time. And I'm completely committed to this. And we do live sessions regularly, 2 live sessions regularly. Tomorrow we have the inner circle call, and so on. So what do we really offer, and how does it really work in terms of the membership model? So this is basically purely a membership program, membership levels. And we have 3 different levels of membership that we want to build. Right now we have silver and gold. Diamond is something that I want to bring in a few months. It's in works, because I still want to make sure that silver and gold are in place and they're stabilized before we go to the diamond membership as well, right? Now, what do we offer as part of a silver? If you're a completely someone who's completely new, want to get started with DevOps Mastery, and not sure whether this is for you, you want to understand it, maybe give it a few months, this is a perfect starting point for you. Also to try out the system. So if you are not sure about how good the DevOps Mastery System is, you can always start with a silver membership at a low entry point and take it from there, because we have the upgrade paths from silver to gold to diamond, and so on, right? So what do we offer? Everything that I mentioned here in terms of courses, coaching, community, challenges, certification. It's just that the courses there are certain initial entry level courses that we have as part of silver membership. That's the key difference. And then when you want to dive deeper, we have the gold membership for you. So in silver membership, the key courses are the DevOps Mastery Blueprint. This gives you an idea about what does it mean to make a career in DevOps? What does it really take? What are the key practices, principles? What are the things you should know about? What are the things you should be ready for? And that's a 3-day structured course that you can complete in 3 days, really. It's a self-paced course. You have access to it for lifetime. When you become a silver member, it's more time membership. But you can complete that in about 3 days. Then we have, I have published a course. My course is published via Linux Foundation on edX. It's called as Introduction to DevOps and SRE. Again, slightly more demonstration of the same 5 practices. And then I have added some section on SRE last year. So you can get started with concepts related to DevOps and SRE with that. Then there is a system engineering bootcamp that is in progress right now. That is to build foundations related to DevOps. So, you can't just be a DevOps professional. You need to have the right foundation on Linux, networking, troubleshooting, scripting, and that's what we cover as part of System Engineering Bootcamp. There's Ultimate DevOps Bootcamp, which is the basis for our DevOps Hackathon as well. That's where the use cases, the content related to building the use cases in the Ultimate DevOps Bootcamp. And then there is a introductory courses on different topics like Docker, Git. These are small courses, and you can complete it in like typically 1 or 2 courses in 1 week. That's how we take it as part of hackathon. And then you build another use case. So you learn about these topics, and then you implement that knowledge into that use case, which is part of the Ultimate DevOps Bootcamp. So it is quite related to, or it goes along with the Ultimate DevOps Bootcamp itself. And those are the key courses for you to get started with when you are a silver member. And we have coaching sessions, 2 coaching sessions currently going on every week. One is the hackathon session that we conduct every Tuesday, where you come and learn about a particular mission for that week, and we discuss any questions, and I'll demonstrate certain topics there. And Inner Circle call is more like community connect, where you can interact, ask questions, get career guidance. We do audits, we do design audits also. We've looked at various DevOps designs also, like how do we build to scale, how do you build on cloud, taking care of scalability, high availability, security, and various other aspects of DevOps design practices, right? And we take up many different topics, and this is mostly a community connect and knowledge sharing session as well. And that's part of a coaching that you have access to as part of any membership. So you start with silver, even if you're gold, you get access to silver anyways. So you have access to all of this, no matter which membership you're part of. Community support, we have the portal, which is DevOps Club, where we do have forums. We are trying to activate the forums now, and you will see certain discussions going on, not like very active with all the discussions. But right now, let's say for the hackathon, we have questions being asked, designs being shared. And I also use this to share the recordings and make some announcements from here. So we do have the DevOps Club portal, where we have groups and forums. And then we have 4 WhatsApp groups, one for the announcement, one for the hackathon, one a Q&A, where you can come and ask any questions, any general questions. We use this WhatsApp group. So we are building a WhatsApp community. We've launched a WhatsApp community very recently, and there are 4 groups you can join. One is related to opportunities, one is questions, one is for the hackathons or the activities that are going on, and there's an announcement group for the live sessions and whatnot, right? That's for the community support. In terms of challenges, we have the 3-day challenge for the DevOps Mastery Blueprint to complete that. 30-day challenge is something that I'm building around system engineering, and the 90-day challenge, which is active right now, which is part of a DevOps hackathon, right? And that's going to be 10 mission based. And then we experimented with 50 days Kubernetes challenge, which was also successful, as I mentioned. So I'm going to do something on that line, but in a different format. So it's going to be a step-by-step learning process for every month. And then there'll be an access to certification as part of Silver membership. That would be DevOps Associate certificate. So we're trying to gamify, we're trying to add points system where you are motivated to keep things going and so on. And when you become a Silver member, you have access to all of these 5 different things, including the courses, coaching, as I mentioned, community challenges, and certification. And now the gold membership. So a lot of you are already part of Silver member, and you may be looking for the next level or deep dive into the topics. And that's where we have the gold membership, which will sit between Silver and Diamond. Diamond is going to give you more offerings. I'll come to that. But gold membership is where we have the self-paced. It's completely self-paced, in addition to Silver membership, where you're interacting anyways. All of these are tactical courses, like all the key technologies related to DevOps. We have like really deep dive courses into it. These are like mastery courses. So if you want to master Kubernetes, if you want to master Ansible, Terraform, CI/CD, DevSecOps, or maybe GitOps, or maybe you want to work on Chef, Puppet, or some of those technologies, we have the courses which are deep dive courses into it. So there are 3 categories of courses that we have as part of gold membership, and each of this is about, I would say, on an average 15-hour course, actually, right? So on an average 15-hour course, which will translate into, each of the course will translate into around 3 weeks of learning for you, multiplied by maybe 10-12 courses. So it's sufficient for you to go on for a couple of years, actually, if you take all of those. So the core courses include AWS, or we're going to convert it into a cloud bootcamp eventually, where you learn about or build something on AWS plus Azure, which is what I run a cloud workshop for. There's a cloud bootcamp or a workshop that I do as part of my corporate training. So I'm going to mirror that here, so that we take up a use case and we build it on AWS and Azure both. Right now, it's just AWS bootcamp though. AWS being the key cloud, actually the #1 cloud in terms of usage as well. So we're trying to build a more generic cloud profile, but we'll eventually include Azure and maybe GCP at some point of time. Docker Bootcamp will help you get started with container-based delivery. There's Kubernetes Bootcamp as well, which is more of a deep dive into various topics related to Kubernetes. There's Terraform, and then there are Ansible Bootcamp. Those are part of the core, gold offerings. Plus, there are premium offerings. Premium offerings are nothing but the courses that I published with Linux Foundation, which I'm allowed to offer through my business and my portal. And those are 4 courses. One is on the CI/CD. These are all very well created courses on topics of CI/CD. There's one on container-based software delivery, which takes up Docker, Kubernetes, plus a little more like alternatives to Docker. For example, if you're all using or want to explore alternatives to Docker in the form of Podman, Builda, and Scopio and things like that. I have a entire collection of tools which you can use there. Or maybe you want to do CI with something like Kubernetes native CI with Tecton. It is also part of that. So some interesting stuff in the container-based delivery, which is on the lines of Kubernetes, Docker Kubernetes, but it takes a slightly different approach for developers. There's a GitOps bootcamp with Flux. There are 2 key tools, Flux and Ergo. This one uses Flux. I'll show you what you can do or what you can learn in a couple of these bootcamps so that you get an idea. There's a DevSecOps bootcamp. So you build an entire DevSecOps pipeline and practices. So a couple of different pipelines. One, we start with the CI/CD pipeline, right? A typical DevOps pipeline, and we include different security practices into the pipeline, and then we create different pipelines for compliance and so on. So and then there are some other interesting stuff as well, which is part of the DevSecOps bootcamp. So these are like the premium courses offered. If you go and check these, you can also check these on, let's say, Linux Foundation site. These are all authored by me. And you can check it on Linux Foundation and buy it there as well individually. Or if you are part of a membership, you anyways get access to those courses via the School of DevOps Mastery System here. And then we have the bonus courses where, these are the ones I added earlier, but these are offering as bonus to the gold, where this is a deep dive into OpenShift, Chef, Puppet. These are, again, to be honest, I've not updated it in a while. Most of this, I have a schedule for updating the core and the premium courses, starting with the premium courses for this year. And then these are the older ones, but you still can get idea about the concept related to Chef and Puppet, and maybe help you get started with those topics up to certain extent. And I have one course on Windows with .NET application, Windows containers. Azure DevOps is part of this as well. So deploying on Azure DevOps with containers, with Kubernetes, it's part of this course. And then I have another one on Service Mesh with Istio. Again, this is being, I think I authored in somewhere in 2018-19. Timeline basically. So this is basically what you get with the gold, in addition to everything that you get in silver. These are the courses, like deep dive courses, that you have access to when you become a gold member. And it's more like a treasure trove of all the DevOps learning, and everything that I have done, I have taught. It's basically a distilled version of that, because every course that I've authored here, basically, there's a lot of research, there's a lot of work in terms of building a story, breaking down the concepts into smaller, digestible topics and concepts, and explaining those, building a lab and story. There's always a project with each of these topics, so there's always a lab part and practical activity around it as well. So that's what we have as part of the gold membership here. So I'm just going to give you an overview of gold and what is part of it, and that should give you an idea about what you can expect and what you can learn out of the gold membership, right? So this is the gold membership, all the courses related to that, like AWS and Docker and Kubernetes and Ansible, Terraform. These are the core, these are the premium ones, and these are the bonus courses, as I told you. So we are transitioning to a new platform. So some of this is, I'm showing you with the older platform, but this is the new one, which has the one we are building right now has many different components, including the roadmaps, for example. The roadmap is the 6-year roadmap that I spoke about, right? You start from as a beginner level. You can track your, progress through this. Again, we're building it. It's still in works. So the next level is DevOps Associate or Cloud Engineer, then the DevOps Engineer. Then we have SRE Club and the Leadership Council. It will unveil as we go along in this journey. And each of this is basically has different challenges for you to track, like this, for example. It will all be part of your tracker to track your progress and to see where you stand and where you have to go as the next step, etc. So we have roadmaps, we have the activity feed, which is more of what's going on in the community, what are the new questions, posts, etc. So you can see all the announcements that I'm making, plus the questions that are being raised. All of that appears as a feed, plus I can see my profile, the groups that I'm part of, the community forums on the left, some recent articles, and the members who are active, etc. So which you can communicate and connect with as well. So if you look at any of the members, you're going to see how much learning that they have done, and we are adding some point-based system, right? For example, Roland here, who's an active member, how much he has gone through in terms of course content. We can track it from, you can see it from here. So every time you take watch a video lesson, you have 10 points added for you. Every time you participate in the community, you have some credits given to it, right? And that builds your sort of a resume here. That's basically where you can also connect with other people, like who are the members. You can search for the members in a specific country and a specific city, right? And then connect with them, and maybe that could turn out to be sort of something that you can build long-term connections right there, right? So you can see, you can search for the members using different criteria. So that's one field. So everything that we offer is pretty much being added to this. So there's activity feed, there are community forums, the live events. So the live events that we do every week are also, you can keep track of those from here. So there's the inner circle call coming up tomorrow. It's about 23 hours. It's the same time as today's session. There's a hackathon which would happen. The live session would happen on Tuesday. You can also see the details of the meeting. You can see the recordings if you want to from here. You can watch them from here as well. We also upload it on separately, but you can, till that happens, this is all integrated with Zoom, so you can watch the recordings from here. You can look at the courses and take the courses from here. So for example, this is the silver category of courses. And you can see it has all the essential series plus the mastery blueprint. There's a DevOps system engineering bootcamp, ultimate DevOps bootcamp, and there's some recordings for our inner circle called in the inner circle world. Hackathon sessions have recordings as well. So that's part of the silver. If you are gold, you have access to the core courses from here, the AWS, Terraform, Kubernetes, Docker, Ansible, plus the premium contain all these workshops, including the container-based delivery, CI/CD, DevSecOps, GitOps, plus the bonus contain the additional courses that I just mentioned to you about, right? And what can you learn through the gold membership? Let me give you a quick preview of that, basically, right? By taking you through some of these courses and helping you understand what depth you can go in. For example, there's a Kubernetes bootcamp. We call it as Kubernetes bootcamp on the new portal. Yeah, but it's the same thing that you see here. So let's say this is gold and you have the Kubernetes bootcamp. It is the same course. This is just the older portal has a better indexing. And what are the topics you can see? You can see there are just tons of topics, and there are probably 10 to 15 chapters, and each of the chapter is about 1 hour of content that you can learn. 1 hour of recording videos, so it translated into approximately 3 hours of your work, including the labs, etc. So this starts with, for example, introduction to Kubernetes, explains you all the concepts related to Kubernetes, like namespaces, pods, replication controller, services, daemons. What are these, right? So there's a quiz out there. So once you understand the concept, you set up the environment, talk about tools like kubeadm, CNIs, configuration, visualizer. We use a very interesting thing called as a visualizer, which is very, very helpful when you're deploying stuff, right? I'm just going to show you some snippets of that maybe. So let's say this is the visualizer which has been set up, which would look like this, the one you see on the right-hand side. And it gives you exact idea about how your cluster looks like, how many nodes you have, how many containers are you deploying, and what happens when you deploy a container. So all of that is very, very useful to see, visually get a feedback about, basically. And that's what this tool does. So we bring in all these interesting tools. We also bring in a lot of interesting methodologies for learning, because I've spent a lot of time building this content, researching how to effectively deliver the content. For example, we use, for most of the concepts, I use an iPad, which has been connected to my screen like this. And this is how I explain the concepts. And this is one of the actual course that is part of the gold membership on GitOps. And, this explains you how you build canary release, so I'll just take you through this, how you build a canary release. And this is a progressive canary release. And this has actually been implemented in this course. So if you take this course, you can implement something like this, where you have a typical canary is, this is on Kubernetes, basically. This is using a tool called as Flux along with another tool called as Flagger. And let's say this is your Kubernetes environment where you have deployed an application. This is your primary. There's an ingress controller. Ingress controller is like your load application load balancer. In this case, it's Nginx. And you start a canary release. Initially, all your traffic is going to your primary. And then you start a canary where you deploy part of the infrastructure, or a new version here. And then you start adding some routes, rules where you send some traffic. And this is all done in an automated way, okay, using the tools like Flux and Flagger. That's a GitOps tool, the deployment tool. The monitoring tool will also be in play, like Prometheus. There's some load test if you want to do something, and you define all the parameters, how you want to deploy your application. And it starts deploying in a way that it does a step by step. So we define the step where it is 5. So 95% here, 5% here initially. And we generate a load. So it starts generating some traffic through the load test application. This is all happening automatically, okay? I just trigger a new version by adding a new image maybe into my container registry, and it would automatically start this where it has deployed a canary, and then it starts routing 5% here, 95% here, and it starts also monitoring, because the monitoring data is being generated constantly through Prometheus, and all of this data is going in here. So, and you also define some threshold saying that if these are the kind of errors that you see, or if there are X number of errors, like more than 10 errors, you stop the release basically while it is in progress, and you roll back. So all of that can happen in an automated way. So it is monitoring, it deploys this, starts monitoring, does the generate the load automatically as well, and then waits for whatever the number of second interval, 10 second here given. And then it, in the second step, this becomes 10%, this becomes 90%, and it keeps on adding more steps, 15%, 85%, 20%, 80%, up to certain step where you say after 50%, you are okay. And if there is no error, up to 50%, in 10 steps, just go and deploy the new version here. And that's what happens as part of a canary. So you're doing this canary release, progressive canary with Flagger. So there's a lot of automation. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on. And I also wanted to show you what kind of tools that we use for explaining the concepts. And it is all built into the courses that I have published. So there's a lot of efforts. There's no course that I've built which is half-hearted. And there's a lot of work which has gone into this, courses which are part of the Gold membership already, right? And the one I demonstrated is part of the GitOps thing. Coming back to Kubernetes, you start creating an environment, then start exploring. So every course that you look at will always, the approach that I take is step-by-step learning, where you pick up one topic, learn about pods, and that's it. So you learn how to create pods, how to write the YAML code, and so on. That's what the entire section is all about. And then in the next step, we make those pods high available, right? And the containers you mean, right? So anyone who's new to Kubernetes, think of it as containers, and we add high availability and scalability to it using replication controllers. Then we talk about how do we access that application exclusively. So this section is dedicated only for that, where you run service networking and you connect to it. You learn what are the different types of services, etc. Then we talk about how do we roll out like zero downtime deployment, how does it happen, what are the configurations related to it, and so on. Then how do we manage configurations? So all of that is there. Data persistence, how do we create volumes, how do we persist data, how do we build different types of releases like blue, green, canaries. And GitOps does much more detailed job when it comes to canary and stuff here, and deployment in general. Then we have ingress controllers, the auto scaling, how do we configure auto scaling, the network policies. So if you have appeared for Kubernetes exam, you would also know that a lot of these topics are foundation for the CKA, CKAD exams as well. It's not a complete program for CKA, CKAD right now, but it's works towards that actually. So you have to have all the concepts cleared, and that's what this program helps you achieve. So, RBAC policies, for example, the advanced pod scheduling, how does HEM work, and stuff like that. And that's just one course on Kubernetes. And you can take any other course, and it goes in depth into that particular topic, no matter which course you're looking at, right? I'll show you maybe an Ansible mastery course. I've also authored a book on Ansible, but this is a course, video course, where we start with introduction to Ansible. Again, the concept related to Ansible, set up the environment. We have a special tool that is home built for Ansible, so that you don't have to spend too much of efforts to build the environment and the lab. It is all container based, so it makes it much easier for you to get started with Ansible, with multi-node environment, with a very quick way to launch it and so on, right? And then what are the concepts in Ansible? Like what are the key concepts like inventories, tasks, roles, modules, etc. And then you start with the basics like ad hoc server management without even writing a playbook and code. How does the inventory work? How do you connect to certain nodes and start managing those? How do we write playbooks goes in here? How do we create roles, which is like a modular code? How do you refactor that and start adding data using variables and templates? How do you work with Ansible Galaxy, where you can pull the different modules from, roles from? How do we add conditional to the code? So this is in-depth Ansible code writing practices, and you will end up mastering Ansible with a use case, basically, with this course, like auto discovery. So this is an advanced thing that I've also, which is also part of my book, actually. How do you integrate with Vault? How does that work, right? How do you do the application deployments for Ansible? Again, you may not find something like this anywhere else. I spent a lot of time building this content on application deployment and so on for Ansible. Again, nowadays we use containers for deployment, so it's not as significant. But when I built it in 2017 or so, this was very, very useful, and containers had not taken the world by storm at that point of time, right? So if you want to do a detailed, deep dive into each of these topics, this is the best way to go about it, the gold membership for that. This is again another course, which is, I think this is the DevSecOps course. You can look at the content. It is very, very detailed. You can take any other DevSecOps course and compare with this. You will see that this will stand on its own, because there are so many practices that we discuss. I'll show you a pipeline which will help you understand some of these practices, not all. So here we start with a simple pipeline, DevOps pipeline, which is typically build, test, and deploy. So this is the build step. This is where you have unit tests. This is typically what we have: build, unit test, and package, and probably that's it, and maybe deploy. So this takes a lot of, incorporates a lot of interesting practices, including how do we scan the repository automatically for, making sure that the code commits are verified. There are no credentials, because, you can accidentally check in the credentials into the repository as well. So how do you avoid those kind of things is by adding automatic scanners for your repository. And then we have the actual compilation step. Then the test stage becomes a parallel stage where you have multiple security scans happen, including SCA. SCA stands for a software component analysis. So all the components of your software, because majority of the time we write like 5-10% of the software. Everything else comes from some library, some module here and there. Take Python, you have so many libraries. Node, which have so many modules. So you're not going to write everything on from scratch. There are a lot of components which form your software and a part of it. So you have to also make sure that these components are secure. And that's where SCA practice comes in. And you want to scan it because you can add components on the fly. And whenever a new component is added, if there's a problem, it will detect it here. Then there is a OSS license checker. So also making sure that any license that you don't want to use is not being used. So it scans for the license for your components and your software. It also generates a static analysis. Does a static analysis, there's a dynamic code analysis later after deploying. So it might come a little later in this course. I'm just showing you one of the videos from the course where we are building this pipeline. There's a software SAST software. I think SAST stands for the. Okay, let me. Yeah, just trying to get the full form of SSST. Yeah, so it's the static application security testing, and then there is a dynamic DAST, which is a dynamic application security testing. Again, I think we're using two different tools for two different purposes. This is probably where maybe SonarQube or something like this will come in. As part of this project, I have a slightly different tool, which is for a Python specific tool here. And SAST is basically a static scan of your code for comparing it with the best practices, and making sure that you don't write the code in a way that it becomes vulnerable later. It is done even before deployment, and after you deploy things, you can do something like OWASP ZAP, dynamic scanning, and that's part of a DAST, which happens after deployment actually. And then if you're doing container-based delivery, for example, you can do image scanning and linting. There are multiple scans that we add for the container images as well. So you can see that image analysis stage here. And this is just one part of it. This basically the DevSecOps practices that I teach you to implement. You can see rest of the content maybe from here. The DevSecOps has starts with a simple pipeline. Then we add one step at a time, the SCA, software component analysis, this entire chapter on that. There's one chapter on SAST, static analysis, container images. How do you scan, audit container images, etc. So secure deployment with DAST. After you deploy, how do you deploy securely? That's number one. Secondly, how do we scan after deploying? And that's the second part. How do we do system security auditing, right? So compliance checks, basically. So there are a bunch of Ansible playbooks, and then there's a tool called as Inspec, which will help you scan your system, underlying system, for compliance checks. And you can enforce those checks using Ansible and scan using tool like Inspec. And that's what this combination, that's how the combination that we are using here. That's again part of your security, compliance, and auditing. How do we create or write Kubernetes deployments in a secure way? There's an entire best practices, part here. How do we manage secrets with Vault? Vault is one of the essential components used in many organizations. How do you integrate with Vault? How do you start using Vault for a centralized store for secrets? That's part of it. How do we, and then this is very interesting, where one of the topics that we have, we build actually a runtime security monitoring remediation. Whereas, let's say you have a Kubernetes cluster, you are running some pods in it. It is constantly, there is a tool called as Falco, which monitors the system calls. So everything that you do makes certain system calls underneath, basically, when it executes, right? And it is the system calls that it monitors. And based on those system calls, it can detect some interesting situation scenarios where, let's say, someone breaks out of your container and, exploit the container image, and they manage to break out of that. So it will detect that anomaly, and not only it will detect it, so we integrate Falco. Falco is the detector, and then there is a Ergo events and Ergo workflow. So we integrate with that so that we can take actions, remediation steps automatically, where we throw away that container and replace it with a new one. So you can avoid. So security is a multi-layer thing. It's like layers of onion, where it is multi-layer thing, where you can actually have to take a holistic approach, where you have to design or build security into your code, into your components, into before you deploy, after you deploy. You have to constantly monitor things. You have to build, secure your platforms. You have to secure your infrastructure, the underlying infrastructure, then the platform, the software, the operating system. So you have to approach it in using different layers, And that's what this talks about, the DevSecOps course here, right? So as you can see, there are so many in-depth topics, and each of this is like an in-depth course that you will have access to. This is, I think, one of the boot camps where this is the CI/CD boot camp, and we do build an entire pipeline. So typical CI pipeline is just this much, the one you see here, and where you have, you build continuous integration, and you build test and package here, and then after that, you uh, publish the image to the container registry. From there, you trigger staging deployment. Now, in this particular course, we are using Spinnaker for deployment. I'm replacing that though, because Spinnaker has been very heavy. It's not been maintained very well. So we're going to replace that. So there's deploy to stage though, where you run some tests, deploy load balancer, deploy the application. This is a Kubernetes deployment Spinnaker. Then there is a manual judgment. So typically that's the difference between continuous deployment and continuous delivery. What do you think this, looking at this, is this a continuous delivery or is this a continuous deployment pipeline? Anyone who's in the Zoom call can reply.
Can you repeat your question, please?
The question is this what, when you see this diagram and these steps, is this a continuous delivery or pipeline, or is this a continuous deployment?
Continuous deployment, I would say.
Continuous deployment is wrong.
This is actually both. Yeah, it has both CI stage as well as CD stage. I mean, in the diagram you have mentioned CI, and then the container image goes to Docker Hub. That is your build process. Then it goes to multi-stage pipeline staging and then production. So correct. Complete life cycle, I would say.
It is CI/CD, both. That is correct. What I'm asking is, when it comes to CD, is it CD as in continuous delivery or continuous deployment? And actually, answer to that is it's very subtle. It's not both. This is a continuous delivery. What is the difference between delivery and deployment? In delivery and deployment, both, you will automate everything. So this is automated, this is automated, which is great. The subtle difference is in deployment, you will go all the way. Whenever there's a change and it builds an image and publishes it here after CI, it will go and deploy to staging, and it will go and deploy to production automatically. No manual intervention at all. Versus continuous delivery is where you're going to have a manual judgment, and that is the key difference between the delivery and deployment. And in delivery, and that's what most of us try to achieve, is you will have some release manager, someone who will say that, oh, deliver now, right? And that could be every 2 weeks, every week, maybe every day, right? So, but there is a decision done at the business level when to deliver the product, but everything is still automated. So you keep everything ready to deploy, and every single change that you make is in position to be deployed. It is just that when to deploy is the business decision, versus continuous deployment is going to go all the way. But continuous deployment is much harder to achieve, because if you're deploying to production right away, every single change, you have to make sure that there are enough amount of tests that you're doing, and you have to use some method, like Google is always in beta, like Gmail is always in beta almost. So you have to use things like that. So there are companies who do continuous deployment. There are very few companies, but most we are trying to achieve the continuous delivery. Again, that's what is part of this CI/CD bootcamp. So we build an entire pipeline, and if I show you further in this course, you will see there is a pipeline for deploying to staging, deploying to production, and then there are triggers. You can add manual steps and stuff like that, and that's what is happening here. There's a manual judgment. You can see that here, part of it. This is the CI which gets triggered. I think I built this before Blue Ocean, and then there is a CD part which will happen here. Again, this needs to be replaced with something like Argo. So if I have to build it today, I would replace this with Argo and not use something like Spinnaker, which is heavy and not really been maintained very well. So there's been a lot of challenges working with Spinnaker in terms of building a training content as well. Right, so that's that, but that's a CI CD bootcamp, again due for update, and this is just one of the courses, right? So you can see this is the DevSecOps. This is the CI/CD pipeline, which starts with container-based delivery. So basics of Docker, revision control with Git. This is actually more in depth than the Git essentials. Continuous integration with Jenkins, the initial pipeline as a code. So similar approach to UDBC, but a different boot camp, different use case, different steps, different applications. So even if you have done the Ultimate DevOps Bootcamp, this is another project that you can build. Then we use Docker. We deploy with Kubernetes. Initially with Docker Compose, there's a deployment with Docker Compose as well. Automated testing comes in, like we build also integration tests here, SonarQube scans and things like that. Run things with Kubernetes, deploy with Spinnaker, but I would replace it with GitOps and maybe add, that's that. I think that would be the CI/CD bootcamp. Then what we have here is, let's say, these are the courses, right? So if you look at GitOps, for example, again, it takes a step-by-step approach. Each of these takes a step-by-step approach. Initially with what is Flux, how do we set up the environment on Google Cloud in this case, Kubernetes essentials, Git workflows, right? So essential of that, because GitOps is all about Git workflow implemented to automate operational stuff, including deployment. How do we get started with Flux here? Set up a simple automation pipeline. Then Flux uses a lot of customize. There's a tool called as customize, which is, either use hem or customize. So Flux has this concept of customize, and there are two different customize concepts here. So we take those, like how do we start creating customizations with Flux and, and stuff like that. And it keeps on building on top of that. I'm not able to see all the topics right now, but it keeps on building on top of that, including the topic that I showed you earlier, where you are building that entire workflow with Flux, Flagger, some sort of an ingress controller, and so on, right? That's the Flux CD. And you have Terraform, you have AWS Essentials, and those courses as well. So this is the Terraform course. Again, how do we start using Terraform resources? What are the variables and outputs? What are the provisioners, data sources, backends and remote state management? How do we start building the modules and using the modules? So it takes you through the entire journey of all the essential topics related to Terraform. Terraform is one of the key tools today when it comes to infrastructure as code and automation. And that is part of the gold membership. This is in addition to the silver membership, AWS, Docker, Kubernetes, so deep dive courses, some of the premium courses, and of course, the earlier courses that I built. I started with Puppet Chef included. And that's what you get with the gold actually right now. Right. And then we will have a diamond membership launched some point of time, which will include the projects. And I'm planning to add 3 different types of projects: nano project, mini project, capstone project, on different levels, like chapter based, topic based, and now end-to-end implementation as in different tools. And we take more realistic things and do what actual DevOps and SRE people do. Those are the kind of projects we want to bring in. Approximately 100 projects I want to bring in here of different types. And we want to have some sort of masterminds where we are building the councils, do weekly hot seats or live audit sessions, and help you basically fast track your journey. Have an accountability system with groups, teams, some sort of a cohorts, and so on. And more level of gamifications with badges. For every bootcamp that you complete, you would receive a badge so that it keeps you a bit motivated. And advanced level certifications like DevOps Engineer and SRE. And that's what we want to build into the Diamond membership, which is what is in works right now. But right now we have silver and gold for you to consider, basically, right? And if you want to get started with these, what are the prices and what is the offer that I'm providing right now. Is the list price for silver and gold are these, right? You will see that in listed on our website as well. So if you go to schoolofdevops.com, that's what you are going to see in terms of the pricing for silver and gold. So if you're purchasing it from the site, it's 197. This is 497, right? That's what you see as pricing. And I'm extending an offer for the gold membership and the silver for some of you who are starting new and want to enter with silver. There is an offer for you, and this will be valid till the April 30th. And for the gold, there'll be an offer as well. And this is the offer that we are extending to you right now. Instead of, let's say, $39.99 or $497, it's about $299. And you're going to get access to the gold content for about 3 years. 3-year access is what we are starting with. Later on, we're going to make it as a 2-year. Right now, I have an update schedule for the next 6 months. And that is the reason why I'm extending that by 1 more year. So that you get updates, all the updates, plus any new thing which gets added to the gold, you will have an access to it for the next 3 years. And if you want to get started with gold, this is what you can get started with. So if you're watching that as part of a recording, you can pause and scan our link that I'm going to share with you. Yes, there's a question. Okay, this is for the gold. I'm going to share this over the email as well. So I'm going to send out an email with the offer links. And these are the ones you can scan to pay. So if you want to get started with silver, it is available at $7,999 or $99 or equivalent in your country. And you can scan to join the silver. That's the one on the top. Or you can use this to join the gold membership, which is what you see in the bottom here. So when you apply for gold or when you seek the gold membership, you already get silver included into it. And those of you who are silver members and want to upgrade to gold, you will receive an email with an offer that will be an upgrade offer. So for we always, as I mentioned to you, if you start with silver, you'll have an upgrade offer to gold, so that it becomes a worthwhile, whatever you're investing today. And if you are a gold member, from gold to diamond, if you want to seek it later, there will be an upgrade path as well, so that whatever you're investing in your learning is also considered when you upgrade to the next level. Because we have this inclusive process. When you get diamond, you have gold included. When you get gold, you have silver included. Silver membership is lifetime. Gold membership is 3 years access for these courses. And this is the current offer that we have, 23,999 or USD 2,999, which would be valid till, let's say, April 30th, the end of this month, right? And that's what I wanted to talk about. Those are the 5 things that I wanted to talk about. Any questions? I'm going to open for the floor for the questions. I will be able to take questions, honestly, just from the Zoom session right now. So anyone in the Zoom has a question, you can speak or type it in the chat.
Well, I do have a question. Like, I just got that silver membership on, I think, on Sunday. You might have seen my emails bugging you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I had some issues with login. So when you say, like, you mentioned silver is for lifetime, and then gold you mentioned is for like 2 years, right?
2 years.
So if I upgrade to gold, so my gold will be for 2 years, but the silver will be valid for lifetime. Is that correct assumption?
Absolutely, absolutely. So silver is offered as part of a gold. So when you become a gold member, you're a silver member for lifetime.
Oh, okay.
That will remain. And you have access to everything in silver for that for lifetime. But gold content, the one you have access to, the deep dive courses, that would be valid for the 3 years. And you can review it if you want to later.
Okay. And just one more question. So you also mentioned this upgrade path. So that upgrade path, you mentioned, I think a separate email will come. So
we have the mailing list of all the silver members only.
Okay.
We want to extend it only for the silver members. So if you're a silver member, you would receive it via email.
Okay, got it. Sure.
Perfect.
Thanks.
All right, perfect. So Subramaniam has a question. When will I get the email? Maximum tomorrow morning. I'm working on the upgrade offers and stuff like that. So the actual offer, I want to work on it, and then I want to send it to you by tomorrow or so. So you'll get it by tomorrow. The offers, all these offers will be valid till April 30th. So you can make that transaction before that. The next question is from Prasad. Are you providing tools access for the practice labs? We don't have any platform as such where we have the tools. Those are what we have. And if you ask for a tool, it is more of like for Ansible setup, for example, we have a in-house tool, but it's more like offered as a software which you can implement or deploy using Docker. However, if you look at the way we do the labs, most of the time, all the labs that you do, you can either provision with your local environment, or you can, I generally point you to the cloud environments with the free tier access, which is typically enough for that particular time. So we don't have any platform where you do the cloud labs. And I am of, even in my corporate trainings, I generally recommend people to have an environment set up on their own, because cloud labs are generally for, with lower resources and only for, let's say, available only for a particular amount of time. Whereas if you want to practice for longer and actually get a hang of things, we typically recommend. So all my courses use the same method where we have you set up the labs, but I would give you or help you get enough credits or point you to the resources where you can get the credits and set up the cloud. For example, $100 worth credits on DigitalOcean, which is very useful for Kubernetes setup. AWS has the free tier, Azure has credits, but we use it wisely only for certain things. GCP has 3 months credits. There are a few other cloud platforms which also offer you free credits, plus there are other tools which we recommend too. So there is no cloud lab as such, but there'll be enough material for you to or environments that you can set up locally or with Docker or using the clouds. All the cloud lessons, of course, will happen with cloud, including Terraform. That's the answer to Prasad's question. There's all right. So Samuel says send the details by email. I will. There is a question from Sandeep. Sandeep, you write me an email and I'll just, see what I can do best in terms of giving you a sneak peek into code, or have you point to the resources where you can find the details related to code, actually. Any else? Any other questions?
Gaurav, I was a Siva member. This is easy though. I just registered for the Gold membership. So do we use the same login, or you're gonna send me
Same
another
login. Same login, same email address, same login.
Okay, so if I go in now and log in, I'm gonna see the courses for
so right
Gold
now you
membership.
See the Silver courses access to that. I'm going to share the offer that you can upgrade to Gold with. So it's not going to be, let's say, whatever we're offering here, it's not going to be the same price that you would pay. It would be a lesser price. And if you upgrade from Silver to Gold using that offer, which you will find in your email by tomorrow, once you upgrade, as soon as you do that, you will immediately be set up with access to the Gold content as well.
I already did it by scanning to pay right here.
All right. So in that case, just wait for some time. Okay. So you will have the access set up in probably in the next 30 minutes or so.
Okay.
All right. So it will be the
So
same.
the give up actions that you talk is in the Gold membership package, right?
Correct.
Okay. Because I saw when you did the Kubernetes cluster, I actually show the picture of, like, you can actually see what is happening behind the back end of when you create a cluster. So I think that's one of the things that draw me to this Gold membership thing.
Right. So the Kubernetes bootcamp is where you will have access to that. And if you're talking about the visualizer, probably, which I showed as part of the setup, etc., that you will have access to it here. So I think it's part of setting up the environment and setting up the uh, Kubernetes dashboard or visualizer, I think. And that would be that particular,
Setting up a Kubernetes visualizer. Okay.
exactly. So that will be the same lesson that I showed you earlier.
There is the
Where you see the visualizer on the right side.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
So
yeah,
that was actually if I follow these steps and I do that on my own
Sure.
whatever operating system I'm using, is actually going to show it like this.
absolutely. It's going to show like
Okay.
this when you set it up.
Okay.
It's a very interesting tool, by the way. So the visualizer here, and I discovered it a few years ago. It still works with the newer version of Kubernetes, and I use it for my trainings, and people are very happy with it because you actually see the advantage with this is when you go to topics like deployment, for example, let's say application deployment and updates, rolling out a deployment. I'll show you here. So you'll actually see how the rollouts happen. Where are these containers being launched? Which node? And in which sequence they've been taken out, they're being replaced. So you actually see all of that
being added.
So this is a demonstration of that. I think there'll be some visualizer part. You can
3
see that
new
here.
pods which we're part of, because we have given the replica number.
I'll just mute it from here. And this is a deployment in action. And somewhere you will see it starts rolling out. Rolling out here should happen on visualizer as well. So maybe I've picked it up after it's been rolled out. But you will actually see with the visualizer how things happen, how things roll out, how they roll back, etc. And there are a couple of places where you will find this detail. So there is a container course like LFD 254, part of the premium courses. And then there is this
Second version. This is because.
And then there is a rollback
Okay.
part. So you can see this part where you can see how many containers are run, how it is rolling out, how it is rolling back. So you see one container gone.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So this is a very interesting tool for learning Kubernetes. I highly recommend. Yeah, you can see that. Highly recommend this. So all of this is part of the gold already, actually. In fact, we may use it as part of the Devops Bootcamp, which is what we are currently going on as part of the use case session, etc.
Then
All
for
right,
the
so-
give up actions, I think we had a session yesterday with the Blue Ocean that we actually saw how it was very different from the Jenkins pipeline to
Sure.
make sure. Yeah, it was. So it's over here too, right?
Yes, it should be there in the CI/CD bootcamp. So Blue Ocean is the newer plugin. It is part of Jenkins still, but it's just a newer plugin. So Jenkins has been evolving over a period of time, and what we have right now is more like a Blue Ocean plugin. And you might see it somewhere here as well. So it is part of our. I'm gonna update the Ultimate DevOps Bootcamp. CI/CD Bootcamp, it will be there. If not, it would be updated in the next, I think the next month. I plan to update the CI/CD Bootcamp as well. About in a couple of months' time, you will see it there. But I think it is already there, the Blue Ocean part, as part of CI/CD Bootcamp. It would also be there as part of DevSecOps Bootcamp. It's there. So because we start with this, the simple continuous integration pipeline, and then we expand on top of that. And yeah, so you can see already there. Yeah, it's there. So Blue Ocean UI, it's already part of the CI/CD. I think I updated last year sometime. So this is the Blue Ocean, and you will see, yeah, this is the UI. I believe this is the same CI/CD bootcamp. So you can see, in fact, this is a very interesting pipeline. I think we are building a pipeline for multiple applications, and that's where it gets even more interesting. So yeah, it's already there as part of CI/CD bootcamp, where you see it also skips. So the same concept that I showed you yesterday, the branch-based configurations and when it runs on a particular branch or not, skips on which branch. And you can see it is running it for multiple applications. It's not just one application. So we have a concept of mono repository, which has, I think there's a worker application, there's a result, and then there's about 3 applications it is running the pipeline for. And in fact, you can go ahead and parallelize this as well, which is what I plan to add next time I update. The parallel stages where you can do multiple things at the same time, as I showed you in the DevSecOps bootcamp to you.
Okay. So all of these, both the silver and the gold membership we use the same repository, GitHub repository for all the code?
No. Different courses have different use cases based on that different repositories. For example, we are using that Ultimate DevOps Bootcamp has a Node.js application in the front and the cards and catalog. It's e-commerce platform, versus CI/CD Bootcamp is based on the Boot application, which I also use in Docker and Kubernetes. So it is consistent with that. So it's a different repository though. It's a different repository, different application in those bootcamps. So when you go through multiple of these bootcamps, you actually end up building multiple different projects actually.
Okay. So but when I sign in now with the gold membership, because I'm already a silver membership, that's what I say. What repository will I be using for the gold membership now?
So it would be in the course. So if you're talking about the Git repository.
Yeah, because we'll actually need at some point to build the applications and need the code to fork them to my own GitHub repository.
It's different repositories. So I have different organizations for each of these courses actually. So UDBC, for example, has it is there in the course. So when you go to the course and look at the course and the lab, you'll find it there. So this is an organization which has repositories for the Ultimate DevOps Bootcamp. Similarly, you'll see LFS 261, the CI/CD Bootcamp, has its own repositories right here, right? And you will fork these ones. Whereas you go to LFS 269, even if it is same project, same application, there'll be different repositories. So 269 has these repositories versus 262, which is the DevSecOps, has its own set of repositories, and you'll see some code related to SecOps. There is a demo application here which we use, and the different applications we use. And so even if it is same application, for example, this example voting app, you will see it in multiple places. It is a different repository because this has been configured and coded in certain way, which is useful for that particular course.
Okay.
So it is there. All the details you will find in the courses. So once you start with the course, you will actually start seeing those details.
Well, we're gonna finish. I have to finish the Mogambo project on the CI/CD first before I get to the gold membership tools.
Sure. So you can go in the sequence where you complete the missions in the Ultimate DevOps Bootcamp, and then you get to the these courses where you are doing a deeper dive. And that's the sequence I would recommend. But you can get into any of these if you want to learn about that specific topic at a depth. But otherwise, you can follow that sequence. If you have more time, you start exploring the gold membership courses, I would say.
Okay.
One just question from me. So we already have some live sessions that are going with silver.
Correct.
Right. So is that going to get increased if you have some dedicated live sessions planned for other courses, or you want plan to increase those sessions?
So when we launch let's say the 3rd level membership, we're going to have more sessions for that, more in-depth sessions and so on. But this is for initial levels of silver membership. We have 2 sessions right now. One will be for the hackathon, right? So that we'll do 2 sessions for sure. One for the hackathon, one for the inner circle. Inner circle will always continue with new content. Maybe we bring in newer topics and talk about things and talk about design and stuff like that. But right now we have 2 as part of silver and gold. And later on, when we launch diamond, I plan to do more of sessions where we are, doing deep dive into either tech projects or deep dive into some of these bootcamps.
Okay. So these hackathons, are you doing it regular, like current one is already going on, I think probably third
Correct.
week or something. So will it happen again, or
It will happen again. So basically, we'll keep cycling through this so that you miss something right now, or if there is something new as well, or if you are not able to follow right now, you can always join in, continue later as well. So this we also have a cyclical process to add more newer members. So every time we have newer members every quarter, they would have to go through the same cycle as well. So this will be cyclical thing, the hackathons, that is, and inner circle calls are again different topics. So again that would continue as well. So it'll happen again.
Okay, sure. Thanks.
Sure. All right, so that's it, folks, for now. And thank you very much for attending this session. And I hope it was useful for you to get an idea about the DevOps Mastery System that we're building. And I look forward to see you on the other side. So thank you, and all the best.
All right,
Thanks.
so I'm waiting for my login for the Go membership, right? You're saying 30 minutes.
30 minutes, you'll get it.
All right.
Okay, and if anyone who is on the live session and not part of Zoom, you can send in your question to learn@schoolofdevops.com. So if you have need any help or want to get these offers specifically in your email, you can send out an email at learn@schoolofdevops.com. I'll try to address those questions. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.